Hi guys, the funny thing about Robert Jenrick is that he didn't always have far-right views. He seems to have developed them when he was immigration minister, and they have become more extreme with the whiff of becoming a leader of the Conservative Party. Now, he was on the Laura Kuenssberg show where he once again tried to suggest that the UK should leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Why? Well, because it's out of date. But British people needn't worry about their rights not being protected because Parliament will see to that. Have a listen to this.
Robert, you were in the Home Office when this plan was conceived. Is that right? Is that what this is about?
No, this is about securing our borders, which I think is incredibly important. I think it needs to be stronger. I do actually support leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, because I think although it had noble intentions when it was created in the aftermath of the Second World War to protect Europe from fascism, it's been twisted out of...
To protect Europe from fascism. You know, the people calling for people's rights to be removed, what do we call those people? What do we call people who say, you don't need the European Convention on Human Rights to protect your rights? We will protect your rights. The British government will protect your rights. What do you call people like that?
All recognition, and now you're seeing activist judges in Strasbourg who view this as a living instrument, taking decisions that are best placed for Parliament and for politicians. You saw this very vividly this month.
They've protected British people. They've protected British people from abuses of power by their own governments on occasion, and they've certainly protected people all over the Council of Europe. There are currently interim measures in relation to Putin's Russia preventing Ukrainian prisoners of war being executed.
Why wouldn't you trust British judges and the British Parliament to make these
British
decisions?
Judges have no jurisdiction over Ukraine and Russia.
There's always been rights in this country, long before the European Convention on Human Rights.
It's not about the rights, it's about protecting those rights. It's about how, like, this is a guy who supported banning people's right to protest. You know, you're saying, well, what we do is we as a British government support people's rights to protest or freedom of expression or right to assembly or right to all sorts of things. But you don't need the European Convention on Human Rights. You don't need the court in Strasbourg. We'll look after your rights. You know, the same people who are saying we will look after the NHS. We will look after the social safety net. They're saying, yeah, trust us to look after your rights. No, you can't be trusted. That's why there have been so many cases brought to the European Court of Human Rights, because the people couldn't get what they needed from British courts.
Human rights. But I want these decisions to be made in the UK. I don't think, for example, it's a good idea that net zero.
What we need to do is have a whole programme about this and have you two in the studio to talk it through for 60 minutes, because it's fascinating to hear you both.
Oh my goodness. So this is about him pivoting. This is about him pandering to the extremes of his party. I think Robert Jenrick wants to be the next leader of the Conservative Party. So he's presenting himself as a far-right individual, hoping that this will be the direction that the party will go in after the general election. And I think it will. It won't stay that way for very long, because they're not going to win elections as a far-right party, as a UKIP, as a BNP, as a Reform UK party. They'll have to pivot back to the centre. That's where most people are. That's the way most people vote. But it's, once again, they're trying to use issues that divide people in order to win elections. So they're trying to suggest that the next election will be based on leaving the European Convention on Human Rights. They're so happy to strip British people of these protections. And what's the goal here? Well, I think part of it is political. It's about pandering to the extremes in society who don't actually understand the role of the European Court of Human Rights and the Convention. But it's also an attempt to, of course, strip away protections to help the people who donate to the Conservative Party, people who are not interested in protecting citizens. It's more about protecting themselves and their profits. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.